TIAN X Science is where science meets the unknown. And my name's TIAN. I'm from China.
Have you ever noticed that most civilizations in human history developed gradually over time? Yet the Sumerian civilization stands as a stark exception. It seemed to emerge out of nowhere, lacking a clear origin, but suddenly possessing written language, legal systems, fully formed cities, and monumental architecture that defies logic. Even today, historians cannot provide a definitive explanation for where the Sumerians actually came from. What is even more baffling is that this civilization later vanished just as abruptly as it appeared. The artifacts they left behind, such as the astonishingly complex cuneiform script, mysterious Sumerian cylinder seals, bizarre king lists, and massive temple complexes, continue to perplex countless archaeologists. In this episode, we will explore the mysteries of the Sumerian civilization that remain completely unexplained. Number 10 is the Great Ziggurat of Ur. In the heartland of ancient Mesopotamia, within the bustling city of Ur, a massive stepped pyramid once stood. It towered over the vast plains of what is now southern Iraq. Back in the 3rd millennium BCE, this was undoubtedly one of the most awe-inspiring and incredible architectural marvels of its time. The precision of this structure regarding its dimensions remains astonishing even by standards. The entire edifice measures approximately 64 meters in length and 46 meters in width. As for its true original height, no one today can determine it with absolute certainty, as thousands of years of time and sandstorms have eroded a significant portion of it. The interior of the building was constructed using a mud brick core, while the exterior was encased in baked bricks. This design was specifically implemented to ensure this sacred structure could withstand long-term weathering and erosion. Current historical records indicate that the Great Ziggurat of Ur was commissioned by King Ur-Nammu of the 3rd dynasty of Ur and was later completed by his son Shulgi. The pyramid itself was situated at the core of a massive temple complex, serving not only as a religious epicenter, but also as the true administrative heart of the city of Ur. Many scholars believe that this ziggurat was essentially a colossal stairway connecting the human realm to the divine world. It was dedicated to the Sumerian moon god Nanna. Because there was a symbolic connection between Nanna and the eastern mountains, the ziggurat gradually came to be viewed as the deity's celestial residence on earth. The Sumerians believed that Nanna preferred to dwell there, and a modest shrine was built at the very top of the pyramid, awaiting his presence. Inside the shrine there was even a special chamber, where a chosen woman would allegedly serve the deity and become his companion. Furthermore, a kitchen was attached near the northwestern staircase, as the gods also required food offerings. The surrounding outer areas were filled with numerous storehouses, priests' quarters, and palatial buildings for conducting rituals. As time passed, this ancient structure was gradually swallowed by the desert sands. It was not until the 19th century, through the excavations of European explorers and archaeologists, that the ruins of Ur were rediscovered, allowing the Great Ziggurat of Ur to finally reappear before the world. The problem is that, despite years of extensive research, the academic community still lacks a unified consensus regarding the true purpose and significance of this pyramid. Many scholars have proposed various interpretations. Some argue that the Great Ziggurat of Ur was fundamentally just a religious ceremonial site where high priests officiated various rituals and offered sacrifices to the gods. However, others suspect that the pyramid might have also served some astronomical observation functions. Researchers have noted that the orientation of its staircases and platforms seems to correspond with specific astronomical phenomena, such as the winter solstice vernal equinox and autumnal equinox. Given that it was dedicated to the moon god Nanna, many feel that these astronomical hypotheses are more than mere coincidence. Another perspective suggests that the Great Ziggurat of Ur actually symbolized the cosmic mountain, a very classic concept in ancient Near Eastern mythology. According to this theory, the pyramid represented a conduit connecting heaven and earth, serving as a medium of communication between the gods and humanity. The shrine dedicated to Nanna at the summit seems to further support this theory. Yet despite all these speculations, the true purpose of the great Ziggurat of Ur remains entirely unconfirmed to this day. Following millennia of destruction and modification, only the lowest foundational tier survives. Archaeologists can only attempt to reconstruct its original appearance based on these residual ruins. Because of this, the enigmatic Great Ziggurat of Ur continues to captivate historians and researchers. It acts as a window through which we can still catch a glimpse of the mysterious and complex religious beliefs of the ancient Sumerian civilization. The ninth mystery is the Sumerian King List. This is a highly unusual ancient artifact that records the chronological succession of kings in the Sumerian region, along with their respective reign lengths. The list also contains detailed information about various dynasties, including their names, periods of rule, and the seats of kingship. What is even more mysterious is that this document includes a large number of ancient monarchs who supposedly ruled before the Great Flood. Consequently, much of the content within the King List continues to baffle historians. The first piece of this puzzle is a cuneiform clay tablet, dating back approximately 4,000 years, originally discovered at the ruins of the ancient city of Nippur. Researchers subsequently unearthed 18 different versions of the Sumerian King List, most of which date to the late Eisen dynasty. Among these artifacts, the most famous is the Weld Blundell prism, currently housed in the Ashmolean Museum in Oxford, England. This artifact can be considered the core treasure of the entire collection. Its records span from the antediluvian dynasties all the way to the 14th king of the Eisen dynasty. In the past, it was even believed that a rotating spindle might have been installed in the center of this prism. Thus, it is not merely an artifact, but rather a portal leading back to ancient history. The most incomprehensible aspect of the King List is the incredibly exaggerated reign lengths. According to the records, the earliest Sumerian kings ruled for tens of thousands of years. The list begins by documenting 8 ancient kings who reigned before the flood, before transitioning into the post-flood era of city-states. The opening of the King List reads more like a myth, detailing the process of kingship, descending from heaven and arriving at the first cities. Their esoteric ancient rulers supposedly reigned for 28,800 years or even 36,000 years. These narratives intertwine with numerous figures from Sumerian and Babylonian mythology, such as the mysterious characters Enmenlu-Anna and Gilgamesh. These absurdly exaggerated reign lengths have sparked massive controversy. Some believe these numbers are purely mythological, while others wonder if the Sumerians genuinely believed that gods once lived among humans. A more moderate theory suggests that these exaggerated figures might be tied to the Sumerian civilization unique cyclical concept of time. Another hypothesis argues that these massive numbers were never meant to represent literal years, but were instead used to emphasize the importance of the kings. Similar to ancient Egypt, where living to the age of 110 was viewed as having special significance, this tens of thousands of years recorded in the Sumerian King List might just be a symbolic literary device. Naturally, some suspect that the issue might stem from later scribes who either misunderstood the original numerical values or conflated different concepts of time during the copying and translation processes. Those numbers might represent much shorter units of time or perhaps generational eras rather than actual years. In addition to this, there is another perplexing issue. The Sumerian King List mixes historical figures with mythological ones. Historians have confirmed through archaeology and literature that some of these kings definitely existed, yet other names clearly resemble mythological legends. This means the list is not strictly historical, it is a hybrid of history and myth. This blending of fact and fiction has led many researchers to suspect that the purpose of the Sumerian King List was not solely to document kings, but possessed a deeper political agenda. Some scholars argue that this list was likely created to legitimize certain dynasties. By tracing their lineage back to those ancient divine antediluvian monarchs, later rulers could reinforce their governing authority. In other words, subsequent kings might have utilized the narrative that kingship descended from heaven to solidify their own power. Many historians believe this interpretation holds considerable merit, Because the Sumerian King List was continuously modified and updated. As new kings and dynasties emerged, their names were added, and the entire list was constantly adjusted to reflect changing political landscapes. Interestingly, there are many striking similarities between the Sumerian King List and the biblical account of the Great Flood. For instance, before the flood, both narratives feature ancient rulers with exceptionally long lifespans, whereas after the flood, human lives significantly reduced. This transition closely mirrors the descriptions found in the Book of Genesis. Driven by these coincidences, an increasing number of researchers are delving deeper into this document. The Sumerian King List acts as a mysterious manuscript that seamlessly blends history, mythology, and political motives. It not only documents the history of the Sumerian civilization, but also reflects their understanding of divine right, royal authority, and the origins of the world. Those impossibly long reigns, the indistinguishable mix of real and fictional figures, and the true political motives behind the King List continue to draw countless researchers to explore its depths today. The eighth mystery surrounds Sumerian women and Queen Kubaba. For a long time, many historians have been thoroughly surprised by the social status of Sumerian women. Although the identity and rights of women varied depending on the era and social class, a wealth of evidence suggests that the status and influence of Sumerian women were likely far greater than most people imagine. Sumerian law actually granted women much more freedom and rights compared to many other ancient civilizations. They could own property, participate in trade, and in certain circumstances even initiate a divorce. Of course, they still had to obey their fathers or husbands. But even so, these legally protected rights demonstrate that Sumerian society actually placed considerable importance on the status of women. This aspect has become one of the most critical directions in the anthropological study of ancient gender equality. Furthermore, the importance of women is equally evident in Sumerian religion. Take the famous Enheduanna, for example. She was both a high priestess and a poet living around 2300 BCE in the city of Ur. She also held a very special identity as the daughter of the Akkadian king Sargon. Many historians even believe she might be the earliest known named author in human history. The vast collection of hymns and prayers she wrote is still being intensely studied today, possessing immense value in both literature and history. The very fact that she could become a high priestess indicates that women in Sumerian society indeed had opportunities to wield power and influence. However, due to a lack of sufficient primary sources, the daily lives of ordinary women, especially those from the lower classes, remain incredibly difficult to accurately reconstruct today. Although existing archaeological evidence shows that Sumerian women enjoyed more freedom and rights than women in many other ancient civilizations, the obscure and unknown parts of their lives remain hidden in the shadows of history. As new archaeological discoveries continue to emerge, researchers are constantly acquiring fresh clues, which keeps the topic of Sumerian women status shrouded in an enduring sense of mystery. In addition to this, a highly unique figure appears in the Sumerian King List known as Queen Kubaba. On those clay tablets, recording the chronological succession of Sumerian rulers, her name appears distinctly among a sea of male monarchs. Her mere presence broke the conventions of the time because she did not inherit the throne through a royal bloodline. Her story reads more like a tale of ascending to the pinnacle of power step by step through sheer competence. According to the Sumerian King List, Kubaba began her rule in the city-state of Kish around 2500 BCE, becoming the first female monarch to ascend the throne in the history of that kingdom. How exactly Kubaba acquired such power remains an absolute mystery, and many details regarding her reign have faded into the depths of history. Yet the King List records that she solidified the foundations of Kish, and the legacy she left behind was far more than symbolic. Following her reign, a dynasty was established that lasted for several centuries. The seventh mystery is the lost city of Arata. The tales surrounding the lost city of Arata have captivated countless historians and archaeologists for years. According to legend, this was an extraordinarily prosperous and wealthy ancient city, possibly one of the most powerful cities in early human civilization. Yet even after decades of academic debate, the true location of Aratta and whether it actually existed remains a mystery today. As more ancient texts are deciphered, a mysterious narrative about Aratta has gradually surfaced. In these records, Aratta is depicted as a distant and wealthy city that engaged in complex trade diplomacy and even warfare with the Sumerian city of Uruk. Often Aratta is portrayed as Uruk's most significant rival. The problem is that no one today knows exactly where this city was located. What is certain, however, is that the name Aratta frequently appears in numerous Sumerian epics such as Enmerkar and the Lord of Aratta and the Lugalbanda epics. Regarding its actual geographical location, there are currently many speculations. Some suggest it might have been located on the Iranian plateau because there were indeed many linguistic and cultural similarities between the Sumerian civilization and the ancient Elamite civilization. Additionally, the Caucasus region and even the Indus Valley have been proposed as possible locations for Aratta. However, to this day, there is absolutely no conclusive evidence to truly unveil this lost ancient city. As archaeologists continue to excavate ancient settlements buried beneath sand and soil, many sites appear to be close to the answer, yet they consistently fail to prove themselves as the legendary Aratta. Some even suspect that Aratta was never a real city at all, but rather a utopian myth created by the Sumerians. It acts like a legendary super-metropolis that countless ancient civilizations endlessly yearned for. For years, the enigma of Aratta has drawn numerous explorers and historians deep into ancient history in search of the truth. Yet today, its specific location remains a puzzle, and the archaeological evidence supporting its existence is pitifully scarce. All that remains in this world are ancient legends of immense wealth and a remarkably advanced civilization. As for whether historians will ever truly find the lost city of Aratta, perhaps only time will provide the ultimate answer. The sixth mystery surrounds the Epic of Gilgamesh and the Anunnaki. The Epic of Gilgamesh is an ancient long narrative poem exceeding 3,000 lines, making it one of the oldest epics in human history. It tells the complete story of a Sumerian king who embarks on a perilous journey, encountering monsters, enduring wars, and spending his entire life seeking the secret of immortality. The protagonist Gilgamesh is recorded as a demigod, possessing superhuman strength, with an aura and character design very similar to Hercules in Western mythology. But the most bizarre and thought-provoking aspect of this epic is that many historians believe Gilgamesh was not merely a mythological figure, but most likely truly existed. The academic community widely speculates that his prototype was a real king who once ruled the city-state of Uruk. This epic is not a fabricated fiction, but rather a piece of real history that was deified by later generations. A massive amount of historical material corroborates that Gilgamesh was the fifth ruler in the history of the Uruk civilization, and his name is clearly documented in the authoritative Sumerian King List. Furthermore, unearthed ancient cuneiform inscriptions detail his achievements, including the construction of the Uruk city walls and the restoration of temples dedicated to goddesses. These solid archaeological findings make an increasing number of researchers firmly believe that beneath the mythological shell, Gilgamesh was a real ancient monarch. The most mysterious and elusive presence in the entire epic is the Anunnaki. Throughout the story, Gilgamesh frequently interacts deeply with the Anunnaki pantheon. Familiar deities such as Enkidu, Ishtar, and Utu all confirm the special, deeply intertwined relationship between gods and humans in Sumerian civilization. The Anunnaki are ancient ancestral gods collectively documented by the Sumerian, Akkadian, and Babylonian civilizations. The name itself carries a profound sense of mystery. Derived from the ancient Sumerian language, its translation roughly means royal offspring or princely seed, carrying extremely specific implications. According to the complete Sumerian creation myth, the Anunnaki were the divine offspring of the sky god An and the earth goddess Ki. Legend has it that these deities created humanity, established universal rules, planted the initial seeds of civilization on Earth, and guided the development of early humans. However, to this day, the academic community still cannot accurately define the true identity of the Anunnaki. All interpretations remain mere speculations without any final conclusion. In a massive volume of Sumerian clay tablet texts, the Anunnaki are described as mysterious beings descending from the sky who actively intervened in the progress of human civilization. They acted as intermediaries between gods and humans, maintaining worldly order, executing the supreme divine will, and controlling the operation of the ancient world. Some believed they were simply anthropomorphic symbols used by ancient people to represent natural forces and celestial phenomena, a product of primitive nature worship. Others argue that the Anunnaki were powerful ancient tribal leaders who were deified by later generations rather than actual extraterrestrial gods. Beyond these, there is a much bolder and paradigm-shifting theory, known widely as the ancient astronaut or extraterrestrial intervention hypothesis. Many enthusiasts speculate that the Anunnaki were essentially extraterrestrial, intelligent life forms that descended to Earth, and that they were the ones who catalyzed the advanced Sumerian civilization. Although this extraterrestrial theory has consistently lacked concrete archaeological backing, the related controversies and discussions remain highly popular to this day. Adding to the intrigue, mysterious artifacts unearthed from Sumerian sites make this period of history even more bizarre and difficult to decipher. Archaeological teams once discovered a highly unusual ancient remain that appeared to be a perfectly preserved ancient mummy, yet many physical details completely contradicted the biological characteristics of modern humans. In addition to remains, the region has yielded numerous oddly shaped statues. Many of these statues wear devices on their faces that closely resemble modern goggles or sunglasses. These peculiar artifacts, which seem to defy the technological understanding of their era, continue to amplify the mysterious aura of the Sumerian civilization and fuel increasingly wild and bold speculations. The fifth mystery revolves around the Sumerians' advanced knowledge that was far ahead of its time. The sophistication of the Sumerian mathematical system completely overturns the general public perception of ancient civilizations. Modern humanity universally uses the decimal-base 10 counting system, which is simple, easy to understand, and highly accessible. However, thousands of years ago, the Sumerians independently created a much more precise sexagesimal, or base 60 system. All of their astronomical, mathematical, and calendrical calculations were fundamentally based on the number 60, featuring precise logic and a complete systematic structure. What is even more mind-blowing is that this ancient numerical system profoundly influenced the entirety of human civilization and remains in use today, never having been rendered obsolete. The standard timekeeping system we use today entirely originates from Sumerian innovation. 1 minute has 60 seconds and 1 hour has 60 minutes. These concepts of time, which modern people take for granted, are not modern inventions. They were already fully formed thousands of years ago on the Mesopotamian plains. The subsequent Babylonian civilization completely inherited this sexagesimal system and applied it on a massive scale to astronomical observations and calendrical deductions, allowing the ancients to rely on this precise algorithm to chart the stars. They calculated months and deduced the cycle of the 4 seasons with astonishing precision. The influence of the sexagesimal system extends beyond the realm of time. It actually laid the absolute foundation for modern geometry. The Sumerians were the first to divide a circle into 360 degrees. This standard has traversed millennia and remains the globally accepted geometric baseline today, having never been modified. It is safe to say that the Sumerians not only defined human timekeeping, but also shaped the underlying logic of modern mathematics and geometry. The Sumerian language is one of the oldest known written languages currently in existence, emerging around 4500 BCE. What is most peculiar is that it has almost no clear connection to any other language. Most surviving Sumerian inscriptions are written exclusively in this language. Furthermore, its appearance significantly predates both the Indo-European and Semitic language families. The writing system utilized by the Sumerians is what later became the incredibly famous cuneiform script. This script initially consisted of simple pictographs, but rapidly evolved into a highly complex system containing over 700 distinct symbols. Even though scholars today have done their absolute best to decipher this language, Numerous mysteries still surround its origin and evolution. One of the most perplexing aspects is the virtual absence of any definitive link between Sumerian and other known ancient languages. In addition, the syntactic structure of Sumerian is entirely different from many other ancient languages, which further complicates research efforts. Another massive question is how cuneiform suddenly developed in the first place. Even the earliest discovered clay tablets, dating back to approximately 3200 BCE, already demonstrate a highly mature level of writing. It is incredibly difficult to explain how this writing system could rapidly transition from simple drawings to complex cuneiform symbols within such a short time frame. It is truly mind-boggling that a language and script born thousands of years ago could endure for so long and still captivate us today. Beyond this, the Sumerians possessed astounding knowledge in agriculture and irrigation. They constructed intricate canal and dike systems specifically designed to control water flow. Because of this engineering marvel, they were able to transform the area between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers into vast expanses of fertile land, cultivating enormous amounts of crops to sustain a massive population. All of this showcases the Sumerians' exceptionally high capabilities in engineering organization and technology, leading many historians to genuinely believe that the knowledge they mastered far exceeded what should have been historic colossal for that era. The fourth mystery is their deep obsession with beer. The Sumerians are famous for inventing riding the plow and complex legal systems, but many people do not know that they were also extremely fond of drinking. A massive number of clay tablets and cylinder seals prove that the Sumerians absolutely loved beer. On some ancient seals dating from 2600 to 2350 BCE, one can even clearly see depictions of people drinking at banquets. In Sumerian civilization, beer was not just an ordinary beverage, it was an integral pillar of their culture. Archaeological research has also revealed that the Sumerians were likely one of the earliest civilizations in the world to systematically brew beer. By around the 4th millennium BCE, they had already mastered mature brewing techniques. The problem is exactly how they achieved this remains entirely unclear to this day. The beer they brewed was also completely different from modern beer. It was a barley-based, highly viscous drink that even required a special straw to filter out the solids before consumption. The Sumerians valued beer not only for its taste, they firmly believed it brought happiness, satisfaction, and even physical health. The importance of beer was so incredibly high that it gave rise to a dedicated goddess named Ninkasi, who specifically represented brewing and beer. The Sumerians even composed specific hymns to praise her, which contained detailed step-by-step descriptions of the brewing process. The fact that the Sumerians had developed such a sophisticated brewing tradition thousands of years ago remains incredibly fascinating and somewhat unbelievable today. The third mystery is their massive trade network. The Sumerians were one of the earliest and most powerful trading peoples in the ancient world. Although the Mesopotamian region itself severely lacked timber, stone, and mineral resources, the Sumerians managed to establish one of the earliest large-scale commercial networks in human history. This network seamlessly spanned both land and sea. One of their most important trading partners was the region known today as Bahrain, which the ancients called Dilmun. Dilmun was renowned for its rich copper resources, but it provided much more than just copper. It served as a crucial trade hub, physically connecting Oman and the Indus Valley. Additionally, the Sumerians were deeply obsessed with a beautiful blue gemstone known as lapis lazuli. This gemstone was frequently used to create luxury ornaments and exquisite works of art. Research indicates that Sumerian merchants might have traveled as far as the region of modern-day Afghanistan just to acquire these precious minerals. To compensate for their homeland's severe lack of timberstone and minerals, the Sumerians built an expansive trade system encompassing both overland routes and vast maritime networks. Besides Dilmun, Sumerian merchants would travel to Anatolia and Lebanon in search of precious cedar wood, while the relentless quest for gold and gemstones drove them continuously toward more distant lands like Oman and even the Indus Valley. Regarding the mysterious trading regions mentioned in Sumerian literature as Magan and Meluha, Many leading scholars believe they might correspond to ancient civilizations such as ancient Egypt or Ethiopia. This further illustrates that the Sumerian trade radius was vastly larger than many people can even imagine. Even so, there are still massive gaps in our current understanding of the Sumerian trade system. Many vital questions remain completely unanswered today, and historians are constantly searching for new archaeological evidence. The second mystery involves Sumerian seals. Ancient Sumerian seals are typically referred to as cylinder seals. They were mostly meticulously crafted from stone, glass, or ceramics. The surfaces of these small cylindrical objects are carved with intricate patterns and text, and they literally trace back to the very beginnings of Sumerian civilization. Originally, these seals served highly practical purposes, such as authenticating official documents, sealing containers, and marking personal ownership. However, as more seals are successfully discovered, an increasing number of unexplainable mysteries have gradually emerged behind them. The most visually captivating aspect is the astonishingly complex imagery. The surfaces of many seals are engraved with numerous mythological scenes. The daily life of the Sumerians depicted on them generally revolved around three main central themes: warfare, banquets, and religion. These artifacts display a plethora of exquisite carvings, including deities, humans, animals, plants, and various religious symbols. Complex geometric patterns and ancient inscriptions makes these seals appear even more profoundly enigmatic. However, truly deciphering this content is exceptionally difficult, and therefore the true meanings behind these specific images and symbols remain mostly unknown today. The craftsmanship of these seals is another totally astonishing factor. Not only are these seals extremely rich in microscopic detail, but they were also crafted with remarkable geometric precision, clearly utilizing highly advanced techniques and specialized tools. What is even more surprising is their age, with some artifacts dating all the way back to around 3500 BCE. For that ancient era, the technological proficiency displayed by Sumerian artisans is absolutely astounding. There is another puzzle concerning Sumerian seals, which is their incredibly widespread geographic distribution. Scholars still actively debate their true origins today. Some believe they first appeared between the 8th and 7th millennia BCE, while others suggest they originated later around the 4th millennium BCE. These seals were subsequently discovered across Mesopotamia, Anatolia, and the Levant. This widespread distribution strongly implies that a massive network of trade and cultural communication likely existed between the Sumerians and multiple neighboring civilizations. This extensive dispersal also prompts researchers to critically ponder the exact nature of the connections between the Sumerian civilization and surrounding regions, and what specific role these cylinder seals played in officially establishing those connections. Furthermore, these Sumerian cylinder seals beautifully reflect the social and economic structure of that civilization. People from all social strata, from high-ranking officials and priests to everyday merchants and artisans, seem to own and heavily utilize these seals. This widespread societal usage indicates that seals likely played a remarkably vital role in the daily lives of the Sumerian people. As more artifacts are unearthed in the future, perhaps these fascinating mysteries will one day be solved. The ultimate first mystery is the disappearance of the Sumerian civilization. For centuries, dedicated historians and archaeologists have been deeply puzzled by one fundamental question: how exactly did the Sumerian civilization vanish? To this day, no one truly knows how this magnificent civilization met its definitive end, though many academic theories currently exist attempting to logically explain the ultimate decline of the Sumerians. As one of the world's earliest advanced civilizations, the Sumerians achieved remarkable technological feats in agriculture, architecture, writing, and mathematics. However, by the end of the 3rd millennium BCE, the Sumerian civilization began to gradually fragment and ultimately disappeared from the pages of history. Some researchers believe that during the late 3rd millennium and early 2nd millennium BCE, the aggressive rise of rival regional powers was one of the crucial reasons leading to the Sumerian downfall. Under the powerful leadership of the Akkadian king Sargon, the Akkadian Empire continuously expanded, actively conquering numerous Sumerian city-states and eventually establishing what is widely recognized as the first true empire in history. Consequently, many historians believe that a massive regional shift in power had already irreversibly occurred. Subsequently, other emerging factions, including the Third Dynasty of Ur and the Old Babylonian Empire, further eroded Sumerian dominance. Another critical factor was the gradual but steady decline of the cuneiform writing system. As Sumerian city-states lost their political and economic power, the usage area of their original language and script steadily shrank. Eventually, the Akkadian language gradually replaced Sumerian and further evolved into the Assyrian and Babylonian dialects. This linguistic shift, coupled with the gradual cultural disappearance of cuneiform, accelerated the disintegration of Sumerian culture and identity. Simultaneously, the Sumerians themselves suffered from prolonged internal conflicts and severe social unrest. Brutal wars constantly broke out between various city-states as they fought each other relentlessly for scarce resources and power. These internal wars and conflicts further exacerbated political and economic instability, accelerating the rapid decline of the entire civilization. The demise of the Sumerian civilization is actually a highly complex historical puzzle that includes multiple compounding factors, such as the rise of competing powers, the decline of the cuneiform system, environmental degradation, and foreign invasions. However, to this day, many crucial details regarding the disappearance of this incredible civilization still lack truly definitive scientific answers. The mysterious disappearance of the Sumerian civilization is not just a massive historical question mark. It leaves behind a profoundly meaningful lesson for humanity today. As you can see, despite possessing knowledge completely ahead of their time, building massive trade networks, and laying the groundwork for modern mathematics and astronomy, they still could not withstand the forces of nature, climate shifts, and especially the devastating wars driven by human greed. What is the greatest lesson we can learn here? It's that no empire or civilization is truly immortal. However, knowledge is the only force capable of surviving the test of time. Even though the Sumerians vanished thousands of years ago, their legacy, from the 60-second minute and the 360-degree circle to the very foundation of writing, continues to flow through the veins of our modern world. It reminds us to remain humble in the face of time, to cherish peace, and to never stop protecting and exploring new knowledge. Of course, everything I've just shared here on TIAN Science is based on my personal synthesis, research, and analysis. History is always shrouded in a thick fog, so these theories and perspectives could be absolutely right, or they could be entirely wrong. What do you guys think about all these mysteries? Do you think they are true or false, real or fake? Were the Anunnaki actually extraterrestrials, or was the lost city of Ur just an ancient dream? I really hope you'll leave your thoughts and perspectives down below so we can discuss and debate this together. Oh, and before you go, I'm incredibly curious. What city or country in the world are you watching this video from right now? Let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for your time and for supporting the channel. I'll see you down in the comments section.